Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Corey LeBlanc, aka the Ceremony of Witchcraft. I am driving to my clinic on my lunch hour break from work. But anyways, so I put out an episode yesterday that I actually recorded the previous day, and for the last day, 24 hours or more, I've been actually looking for that Cryon fucking channeling / whatever you want to call it. Info about where he talks about how Lee Carroll, which is the man, and Cryon is the spirit coming through the man, how basically he answered the phone, and what I mean by that is the fact that, to talk to his cells, he wanted to slow down his aging process, and I can't remember all the details around that, so that's why I wanted to put that on there, not only to show you guys, but to also refresh my memory about it, how he exactly worded the process of telling his cells to not multiply, or multiply faster, or multiply slower, or whatever, however he worded it, for a few reasons to see if it's, accurate and all that, because back when I listened to Chiron, I really dove in deep and really believed in word for word, and I didn't really search up a lot of things around it, and I believe him. I think he's, I think there's a lot of legitimacy to what he says, but anyway, so I can't find that yet, so I will find that, but I think between the two audios that I did post on there yesterday, I think he did talk about a little bit about that and how to do it without the whole meditation / hypothetical or meditation where he's tried to get contact his cells via a telephone, which is just a symbolic representation to talk to his cells. That's why I wanted to find it, because I wanted to hear it in exact words instead of me just saying it to you, because it's pretty vague and hard to understand what I'm trying to get at here. But anyway, so where's magic? We use the magic, and the magic, being a sigil, is kind of like that telephone that he would be talking about, the metaphoric telephone. The sigil, the spell, the candle, whatever way you are implanting that thought into your mind is basically the telephone that Chiron or Lee Carroll used via meditation, via visualization, whatever way he used to talk to his cells, and eventually his cells answered. So after meditating for a certain amount of time, he created that fucking strong connection between subconscious and conscious, and then eventually he was able to hear it. So to me, what he's saying here in his own way is basically saying that what he did was, ask a question before meditation, and he kept asking the question every time, and then he finally got an answer. And that's the way it's going to kind of be. But he explains it in a way that this is how he stopped or slowed down the aging process. So that's why I wanted to find the video to put it on there for you guys, so you could hear it for yourself. Okay. So you guys could hear it for yourself. Sorry, I'm just trying to park here now. But that's why I wanted to put it on there, and I haven't found it yet, so I'm going to keep trying to find it, to be honest. Over and over again while I try to find this for you guys. So please be patient. Hopefully, by the time you're listening to this, I already have it there. And I'm back. Now I'm done work. If the other one sounds shittier than this one sounds shittier than the last little bit I recorded, it's just because one was connected to my stereo in my car, and now I'm just doing it to the phone. But anyway, so back to the topic at hand. I don't really know what I was talking about, actually. I can't remember, but I'm pretty sure I was circling the drain of my last episode, and when I was talking about Chiron is something else on your birth chart. But anyway, so first of all, if you didn't watch my episode, definitely check it out. I put 6, I think, PDF links on there for Chiron. I put 6 PDF links for books from the Yogi Science of Breath, or the Hindu Science of Breath, the Hindu Yogi Science of Breath story. And then I put another one from that same author. I think it's Psychic Healing. And then I have the book, Cryon, on there as well. So I'm just going through the automatic bank machine to pull out money, so I don't like using my card at places. I have the book from Cryon, and then after that, where the fuck did I put my bank card? I'm trying to remember all the books I put on there now. Sorry about this. And then there's I put one or two Greg Braden books on there that I haven't even. Nope. I read the one God Code or something like that. That's the one I read. The other one, I can't remember the title. I did not read that one. I put one from everybody of my last episode, so you should check that out. I think most of it, if you just hit it, it starts downloading. Next thing I want to talk about, not really the next thing, but yeah, I guess the next thing is, wait for it. Alrighty, so the next thing I want to talk about is the fact, it's a little bit more on the whole, if we never knew we had an expiry date or died, would we in fact die? And I think it's definitely something worth exploring. Now, if you're first getting into any hermetics, magic, witchcraft, spirituality, the like, all these things that are similar or ways of connecting to whatever or changing your life, then I truly believe that you should be working on yourself and transformation first and foremost. But once you get a handle on that, or you're through the initiation of grace, you're probably going to touch on at some point in the grace anyways, and this is a question I don't believe you can ever really answer with any true accuracy, but it's worth just thinking about, just to see where you can get and how you can, externalize it. But anyways, so the human body, as I know it, as I understand it, as I've read the scientific facts on it, like, I don't work with the human body, I'm not a doctor, I don't know exactly what it takes to do what it does. But anyways, our body, just like everything in our culture, in our world, and in nature, so to speak, everything regenerates. All right. From the trees, we come back to life, the animals, insects. We chalk some of that shit up to the fact that they don't have a brain, so they're able to freeze and shit like that. Which is okay. That makes sense. 100% that makes sense. But there's also the fact that every one of our organs in our bodies, our skin, our bones, our fingernails, our hair, everything is not the same as we had. I fucking keep beating this over with a fucking stick, but it's true, and it's something everybody needs to understand about the food we eat, the water we drink, how we breathe, everything that we do, why we need to remain physical through exercise and stuff like that, is because our bodies regenerate new cells every 33 days, something like that. That's one of those really important numbers, 33, and just happens to have 33 this year starting this podcast. But anyway, point is, knowing that our bodies and our cells regenerate every fucking 33 days, that means our organs are using those cells to reproduce and remake. And that's why I put that fucking Cryon thing on, because it's uber important. Or I was trying to find the one where he talks to his cells to make his life last longer. And, you can say it's bullshit, Cryon is not telling you the truth, it's lying, blah, 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 blah. But that is not true. The fact of the matter is, if you can communicate to yourself, which is just like doing magic, which is just basically putting something in your subconscious for it to manifest, all right? If you can channel or talk to yourself, then you can tell them what to do, essentially, because they're just going to go on and do what they know. And the fact that we are bombarded with bad food, and the fact that our water may be toxic or have poison fluoride in it, and the fact that, the spray in the sky is GMOs, so the air we're breathing is attacked, not only with, making smoking popular, but the air we breathe is attacked by, the chemtrails and all pollution and shit. Our food is attacked, our water is attacked. So the three things we need to make ourselves healthy and live a long-lasting life have been attacked. And on top of that, we have a culture now that is super fucking lazy. And it's doesn't fucking help anything that no one does exercise barely anymore, right? Oh man, this sucks. Alrighty, sorry about that. I had to go park at my clinic while I was driving, and it was getting kind of hard. So I said, "What the fuck? Are you fucking kidding me?" Or whatever I fucking said. Anyway, so knowing our body is able to reproduce its organs, knowing that it's made to do this, and knowing that there's good potentiality that all the things I just mentioned, they're either taking credit for because they want us to believe we're dying, or we're being attacked, or our food is going to make us
get a disease or cancer or die, or water or air. And the fact that TV makes us fucking lazy, on purpose, you know what I mean? Those people play video games, phones, all this shit is stopping people from being actually going outside, not, kids, adults alike. So, either there's two options, right? Most people either believe the government's doing this on purpose, or elites, or whoever, okay, whatever group you want to believe is doing it. That's probably a question we can never really answer, but it's just happening on purpose. Or, they're doing it on purpose, or they're just letting us think they're doing it on purpose. Or, you know what I mean? That one kind of is associated with, what I said about, because belief is just as important, if not more dangerous or crucial than actually taking in something. If you're eating something you don't know it's dangerous to you, then there's a good chance that that's going to happen to you. I truly believe that 100%. And likewise, if you take something in that isn't dangerous for you, but you believe it's dangerous, same fucking outcome. And so really it comes down to belief. Now, if you have both something that technically is dangerous for the human body, and believe, and saw evidence that it's dangerous for you, then yeah, you're getting even a higher dosage of it, which is probably why some people die from things and some people don't, which is kind of my opinion. But anyway, the point I'm trying to get at there is whether they're doing it on purpose to actually harm us, kill us, make sure we die before we find out our potential and realize that they're lying to us and all that, so that they can maintain the population and the fiction within that population, by maintain that population, the fiction, because, if people are living too long, 200 years, 150 years, even if everybody in Canada or in the United States was living 115 years, you could really do some change if you remembered everything from, when you were in your 20s and you started telling it when you were 115. Well, people will have a hell of a time trying to change things. So that's kind of my point. But anyway, so whether you believe they're doing it on purpose to hurt us, kill us, and to maintain that, or they're just letting us believe that, as I do. Now, that doesn't mean the things that they're out there can't hurt you. I mean, if they're spraying the skies, they're doing it for a different reason, not actually trying to harm us. But the things they use will harm us. And most of that is because of the fact that we know the poisons, and technically we shouldn't be ingesting that in our food, but because we believe that, it's harmful to us, then it will be harmful to us. But so I believe, I overall believe that they are doing things that can harm us. I don't believe their intention is to harm us. I believe their intention is for something else. However, it is still a byproduct, so technically speaking, even though their intention is not to harm us, they are harming us. That is my belief. Once again, that is all based on your belief. See, I know there's chemtrails, I know there's GMOs, I know there's fucking fluoride in the water, and what do? Well, I got reverse osmosis in my kitchen for my drinking water, and I play 432 hertz for my showers and baths, and for my kids' showers and baths, and I put salt in there for me to have a high alkaline diet. And I try to eat as much raw food as possible, and when I cheat, technically it's with gravy, french fries, puddings, and stuff like that. I don't touch meat because I believe it's a problem that we're killing off the animals and it's not sustainable. It'd be totally different if these animals were living lives and then being killed, and, we were all doing it within a ration. Then I'd probably still eat meat because I'm not going to lie. I didn't quit eating meat because I hate the taste and all that. Or, there's a couple of things that really bugged me when I thought about my soul smelling like the animal, all the dead animals that I had a part in. It's kind of like what I just said about the government, right? Yeah, we're not killing animals, but we're buying it, which allows the people to continue to profit and continue to be able to pay for the slaughtering and all this shit for the animals. So you're complacent in that by eating those animals. So anybody who wants to point a finger at anybody else and say, oh, they're killing us in society, and you're technically eating animals, and I'm not saying that's wrong, I'm not saying that's right, I'm saying once you know what you know, you got to do what is best for you, so you're not complacent in any crimes. Because before you know about the fact that you're perpetrating these crimes, then you're really not held accountable in my book. Now, people will argue that point, and, that's a moot point. That's up to you to believe. But once you know, then it's up to you to go to somebody. You can't stop eating meat. Then you go to somebody where they let the fucking animals raise, and you moderate how much you're taking in, because I'm not telling anybody to stop eating meat. Not one bit. My family still eats meat, and I don't like it. But by me quitting it, it makes up for that. Now, if they said, hey, we're gonna moderate, and we're not gonna eat as much meat, maybe 2 or 3 times a week, and we're going to go somewhere where we know they're not being unfit and unfed and shit like that, then I might even start eating shit again. You know, I technically eat eggs, and that's fucking, most places tell you that's fucking the period from the fucking chicken. So that's pretty fucking gross, and, you know, I don't eat them a lot. But from time to time, you know, I eat them. You know, cooking anything is really not good or able to be processed by your body. The water we drink technically, unless you put minerals in there, very small amount actually gets processed by your body. That's why using Himalayan sea salt will hydrate you. That's the whole point of electrolytes. Basically, electrolytes, it says it right in the name, electrons, electricity. Electrolytes is something that hydrates you, but really what it's doing is giving your cells electricity. I mean, that's hidden in a very plain fucking sight. I mean, that should be pretty obvious. And every time I put Himalayan sea salt in my fucking water or juice, I am making it an electrolyte juice because I'm putting electricity in that glass and I'm consuming it. That's the kind of electricity our body runs on. Now, not like our soul and all that, because we have a few different sources of energy, basically, and there's one filtering coming through it at all times that we cannot see and we cannot know. But if we don't take care of ourselves, then we have a limited span with just that energy coming in. Now, you know, doing things like the middle pillar, which is made for a bunch of different reasons, but one of the things it does is give you etheric energy, spiritual energy for either yourself. It helps you stay between the pillars, be in balance, you know, not out of balance, not polarized or anything like that. It's to give you energy while you're in the middle, because if you think about this rationally, okay, which, you know, it's very hard to do with spiritual stuff, but think about it rationally, when you're polarized, you either have positive charge or negative charge. But that charge is still a charge. It's still something that makes you move, you know? That's how things move. You're either most electricity would be considered negatively charged. When you use a voltmeter, it's gonna measure the electrons most likely. And basically what that tells you is how many electrons are flowing around. You know, you're positive, there's still positivity in there with the neutron or the neutral, the ground wire in the middle, or it depends on what you're looking at. But the electrons are what's making this shit go. You need everything there for it to happen, but the electrons are making it go, all right? And in our society right now, we're being bombarded with positive ions, which are the bad ones, and we're not getting enough electrons. And, you know, just with electrolytes fucking hydrating you, and just with grounding the negative electricity from the earth being healthy for you, it should be enough to tell people that something is fucking wrong. But anyways, I'm a little off topic. So, by being depolarized and in the middle, you can stagnate. You can start becoming, I forget the terms, but, you know, not really depressed, but kind of like in this state of nihilism, apathy, you know, which is way beyond empathetic. You know, you just don't care anymore because it doesn't make sense. There's nothing there to push or pull you, you know. You're not going to kill yourself because, you know, and maybe you will, but most people don't, but they're stuck in the middle of the torrent and have barely any charge because they're so neutralized, right? And you can see why something like the middle pillar would be necessary for that, because it's a way to get that etheric energy without using positive or negative fucking forms of electricity, basically. So the middle pillar is crucial, and I would say to do every day if you are trying to depolarize. Now, I know Frederick Xavier says if you are feeling like that, maybe stop doing the middle polar exercise. And, you know, he probably knows way more about this than me. So, but I would just say if you're feeling like a lack of energy to do stuff, well, that's a good way to get at least etheric energy. But he could be right. That could be keeping you in the middle, and maybe what you need to do is to be a little more polarized and go to one side of the fucking scale, either positive or negative side. So that'd be my advice for that. But then you can see why that energy is necessary, and that's the kind of energy you need if you're going to create an egregore or anything like that. But anyways, so back to the situation at hand. All right, food is something I don't think we essentially need, okay? We don't absolutely need it to survive. We don't need it to fucking thrive. We don't need it for energy and all of that. However, once your body gets used to something, it adapts to something, and then it craves that something, no matter what it is. And a lot of that is predicated on just habits alone.
All right, so I was talking about the middle pillar, and I got into the food part. So now, I started saying that I don't think food is absolutely essential to the body. And once again, like that all depends, right? Your body's used to something, whether it's drugs, whether it's food, whether it's alcohol, whether it's exercise, it doesn't matter. Whatever it gets used to, whatever you develop habits, whatever you continuously input in your body, it will build a tolerance for, it will build an immunity, and it will, you know, certain things are made I don't know, probably specifically to harm us, is one way to look at it, but, there's always a trade-off, alcohol gets you out of your head, you get a buzz or whatever the case is, but it's harmful to your liver and overall to your body and shit like that. Same with many drugs, they have great effects and do things for you and, make you think or have spiritual experience or, get rid of pain. But, you get dependent on them and, or, you have these fucking, I don't know. Anyways, but, so, this is, I forget exactly where I was going with the whole food thing. But let's just take it all back into context the way I was talking about it. So from the TV, the cell phone, video games, that's controlling our ability to move and basically trying to maintain us to sit down and not move. So that takes care of that part. And then the food being hijacked, and then we have the fucking our water and then our air. So, we're basically hitting all the elements of life right there, right? Your food would be something like earth. Your air is obviously air. Your water is obviously water, and your ability to move around and do stuff is going to be your passion, right? So all the elements have been hijacked and turned against us, so to speak, to a point where no one even knows it anymore. And what makes it so bad is the fact that we're not doing what we're supposed to do, and our body is also following suit and not doing what it's supposed to do. Our body, regenerates organs, from the time we're born to the time we're dying. And then when we start dying, it's because of that. You'll see the cells start developing tumors, or they stop reproducing, or whatever the case is. So, and we can speculate all day and say, well, this is what's happening, or this is what's happening. We can say they're killing us on purpose, depopulation, or they're doing this. And once again, I don't think it's literally, if they're allowing us to believe that depopulation is what they're going for, then there's something else they're hiding. And this is what I would say would be what it is. It's not the fact that they want to depopulate, the Georgia Guidestones, plus the 4 fucking aspects I just said, and then, the top point of the fucking pentagram, right? I just named the 4 points. Well, the top point of the pentagram is spirit, and that's also hijacked. Your Christianity, that Bible could be a great book. It could be a spiritual, philosophical, metaphoric, symbolic book, and we can use it for spirituality, but it's also been hijacked. And, so they have, the whole pentagram has been hijacked. The whole fucking system has been hijacked. And the reason is not necessarily to kill us, but it's to necessarily not make us live as long and realize how powerful we are. And I don't know why. I don't know if that's a byproduct of something else. If it's, they're not actually trying to do these things to us, but it's just, they're actually trying to do something greater. And when I say greater, I mean like worse, a greater evil. And, the consequences of that is causing these 4 areas to, be hit. And that's why, ceremonial magic has the grades, and you have to fucking take back these grades. But anyways, so the main point of this was just to go a little bit further into the whole expiry date. If we didn't know we had to die at these ages, whatever age you end up dying at, if you didn't know this is the norm, if you didn't know that, we have an expiry date, if you're one of the first people on the earth when you didn't have a calendar, when you didn't have a fucking clock, when you didn't have to do a 9 to 5 and pay for all your bills and, on TV and cell phones, before all this crap, people died a lot earlier. And now we're dying a lot later. And you can say, well, that's proof of the opposite, but it's not. It's proof of exactly what I'm saying. These people died earlier because they didn't know. Now we know our potential. We know people can live longer, so we're actually living longer. We're actually progressing that way. And this is, to me, was kind of like the next step to continue this progression path. And I don't want it to stop because everybody's out there saying depopulation. But the facts show that, if you take the Bible literal, then yeah, we're going down. But if you take it symbolic, which is, to me, the only way it should be taken, if you take it symbolically, well then, no, we're going up. We don't know how long people lived back then. We don't even know when that was written. But that's the main point I wanted to get across today, was just that this is what's happening in our world today. That's probably like the biggest secret. And even if they weren't doing this, there's really no way to know. There's no way to know who we are. Like, we can blame the people. We can blame everybody. We can say we're the victims and there's somebody out there who's doing this shit to us, but maybe we just never realized it yet. Maybe people are just running businesses and trying to make money, and, greed takes over, and, the governments have their taste of power and they enjoy it, and maybe we just never realized what's going on. I'm sure some people put it together. I've read people that put this together, in different ways. They see things differently than I do, but essentially it's the same. Reincarnation is the theme, and they start talking about how all your organs rejuvenate, and nature itself does that, so it makes the most sense. But if on the cellular level, up to us personally, us big, your body, if all that just keeps regenerating, then it would make sense if you took care and put all the proper shit in your body that you can keep regenerating for a long time, over and over and over again, because once again, you can say, well, how do you stop buying bad food? Well, you might not be able to stop buying bad food. You can do your best to get the best food you can. You can do your best to plan as much as you want. You can do your best to save up money to move somewhere where you can grow shit all year long, and that would be great. But on top of that, you can stop watching the bad TV, the bad shows that tell you and program your mind to fucking work against you. You can stop believing that all these things are going to kill you and just let it be as it is. You can do something about this and give it a shot and see if it fucking works. I'm telling you right now, that's what I'm going to fucking do.
And that's what I have been doing. Anyways, up until what you're hearing right now has been what I've been recording for the last few days straight while at work. And now I'm recording on top of it. But that's what it basically comes down to, is what I'm trying to say here is basically we have been programmed over and over again. I hate using the word programmed, because as soon as you say that, anybody who hasn't been looking into this stuff for a long period of time is gonna kind of like just turn it off, because it's talking about, oh, we're programming, that's bullshit. But we have been, simple as that. But anyways, what it comes down to down the line is the fact that, and the whole thing, this whole whatever you heard up until this point of me talking about, is the fact of me trying to get across that if we haven't been programmed at a young age to know that people died between 65 to 100 years old, okay, if that wasn't, of natural causes, most of the time between 65 and 100 could be dying of natural causes, right? They just go asleep in their sleep, or you get a disease at that age. But if you get a disease past 65, it's kind of a natural progression of things, versus when you get a disease at a young age, it's kind of like, okay, well, that happened from something, when really they both come from the same thing. Either you give up at a certain age and the disease is finally able to creep into you, or at a young age you just let it happen, or you've been saying or listening to things that allow that disease to come into your body, or the food and everything you take in, you believe that actually created the disease. But the point I'm trying to get across, that I've been trying to get across, is that if you don't allow people on the internet, people on TV, the shows you watch, the cancer, everything that every foundation or every benefit or every raising money thing for like cancer, diabetes, Tourette's, Parkinson's, all these diseases, if you don't let these people continuously tell you that there's a good chance you're going to get this, and give us money because we want to prevent this from happening and all that, if you don't continuously let this stuff into your mind, if you guard the gates of your mind the right way and don't even allow that shit in there, there's a good chance that you and your family members won't get these diseases, and more than that, you might live a long time if that's what you want. Because there's no reason that we can't live as long as we want. There's no reason whatsoever we can't live long, healthy lives, because like I've been trying to say over and over again, our body is made to keep on regenerating. Our cells regenerate every 30 some days. I want to say 33, but it could be just 30. Anyways, they keep regenerating. And if you take in good food and good water, and you're breathing correctly, you know, and you're doing exercise, and you are spiritually trying to transform yourself, well, then you are going to be more stronger, more healthier, and more powerful than you've ever been in your entire life. Not only that, is that everybody who's connected to you, all right, you have a profound effect on other people. Every person affects the people around them, whether that's, you want to talk about your thoughts, or just by how they look at you, or how they think, or, you know, because if you're a father, then your children are gonna look up to you, right? If you have a father, you're gonna look up to him. And even if you're the type of person that hates their parents or doesn't know who they are, that there's still gonna be a connection there, regardless. And, you know, like, my wife doesn't know her real father, so what her real father does cannot affect her consciously or anything like that. So it's not entirely accurate for what I'm saying. But if you do know who your father is, you know, Carl Jung, and listening to Jordan Peterson, if you have, or you do, he talks about that a man cannot become a man until his father has a either symbolic or an actual death. And I don't want my real father to die. He's still alive and kicking, and that's great. But to be honest, I couldn't have become a good father figure to my children until I realized that my dad doesn't have all the answers, until my mom doesn't have all the answers. And there's still part of me that does go to them when I don't know what to do, when I am at my wit's end, and I don't know whether it's something financial going on that me and my wife can't figure out, whether it's something with my children, whatever the case is, you know, I always consult them kind of as my elders in the hierarchy of people that I know who've been through similar circumstances to see what they do, you know. But ultimately, I can only seek guidance from them, and I can't get them to fix my problems. Now, if you're still the type of person that goes to your parents to fix their problem, then yes, you can't say you can't classify yourself as a parent, and I'm not going to say that, but in the Jungian, the version that I take from Jung's books, when he talks about this, the shadow, and how to mature, and all this stuff, and Jordan Peterson reiterates this and tries to put it in a easier way for people to understand. But if you're still going to them to fix your problems, then you haven't become that adult, that parent that you should be yet. Because you need to take care of your own shit. And even Frederick Xavier talks about something similar, as in, you need to fix yourself first before you can fix anybody else. You know, to not take care of your own shit is very irresponsible. To let those around you suffer because you haven't changed yourself, you haven't fixed yourself yet, is very irresponsible to do. So to just pray to the Lord to fix your problems, or run to your parents to fix your problems, is very irresponsible. To go get guidance from them and ask their opinion and see if there's something more you can do, and see if they have any experiences in that, is not something you cannot do. That's something I think you should do. You should always seek the counsel and seek the wisdom of people, your elders. You know, respect them enough to go see them and see if they have an issue, and if they had a similar issue that they could help you with. But ultimately, you have to make the change. You can go look, research, and see how other people may have made that change before you, and then incorporate all the ways that they've done it, and take what you need from what you learned, and then do it yourself. But ultimately, you have to do it yourself. But anyway, so back to the topic at hand, as I keep saying, you need to learn how to do this stuff for yourself. You need to realize that, you know, if you're letting your kids eat crappy food just like you're eating crappy food, well, you can't expect to live forever. All right, you can't expect there to be some spiritual rituals and magic that you can do that'll allow you to live forever when you're not intaking the proper stuff. Spirituality will only take you so far if you're not taking care of your body. That's why you see guys that were very spiritual, have a great knowledge of spirituality, such as Aleister Crowley, you know, and there's many witchcraft practitioners I can name that ended up dying of cancer. One that comes to mind is Raven Grimassi. You know, I loved Raven Grimassi. His stuff with working with plants and roots and herbs, and it was amazing. It's where I do most of my works. It's where most of my stuff comes from. And then when I started developing my witchcraft side and looking into witchcraft and all that, I was you know, there was a lot of things on there about kitchen witch and all these different types of witches. And as much as I didn't want to think of myself as a kitchen witch or anything like that. When it comes to my healing magic, most of that happens in my kitchen, and it's very intuitively happening, because even before I knew the profound effects that basil has and thyme has, which is thyme, but spelt with THY, and rosemary and all these different herbs that I use, that I still use now, but now I know what they actually do. Before I knew what they actually did, I was putting that in my special soups when my kids got sick, and I was making sure I put it in after it already boiled, so I wouldn't boil the actual herb, so that what could come out of the herb would actually come into the soup. Now there are different things you can look into, and this is why oils come into play, because oils are very different, because oil burns or boils at a different degree than water does, and when you have a substance such as oil, it can extract things that boiling water cannot. So this is why your oils have more therapeutic and healing powers than actual just putting water with your herb in it. However, when you ingest soups, let's say soup for example, you make yourself just a regular chicken noodle soup, but you put specific herbs in there that have healing properties. Well, if you look into what these healing properties are, some of them can have a good effect with just boiling water, but others have higher effects whenever you add it to oil-based things. Anyway, so the study of herbs and oils is something you should get into, and I can't say I'm actively working on an episode, but I have a lot of things written down, and I'm going to put it together with some other videos that I use for information and all this to put on here. But point is, I was intuitively but unaware doing my healing magic for many years, and this is why, one of the reasons why soup is one of those things you give to people when they're not feeling well, is because people can't eat when they're sick, but they can drink. And the salt and water that's in soup, the high sodium content that's in your chicken noodle soup, people say, oh, it's bad for you, but not when you're sick. It's fucking definitely awesome for you. Salt is one of the most powerful magical things you can add for protection, for hexing, for anything, for getting rid of things. For exercising things. Salt is a powerful thing. So if you're sick, technically you can look at that from a scientific standpoint that you have a virus in you, but you can also look at that from exercising some kind of, maybe not demonic, but some maleficent spirit out of you when you're sick. And it doesn't matter how you look at it, but as long as the person trying to get that person better is looking at it in the right way, then it's going to happen. And I take credit for, at least 80% of the times of myself or my family members getting better is me in the kitchen cooking them my fucking homemade soup with the herbs that I put in there. And I'm still using the same herbs. Now I put a different variety, and I do it maybe a little differently from some things that I learned. But before I knew this, I was still doing the same thing, adding basil and adding thyme and adding rosemary and different things like that into my soups to make my family healthy and all that. So when I say people don't necessarily need food, we don't. I don't think it's something our body needs. I think we should all be eating berries, nuts, and different seeds and things like that, because you can get more from a fucking that little black seed. I use it all the time. I can't think of it now. Jesus, it's a superfood. But anyways, it'll come back to me. But anyways, flax seeds are very good, but this is a different one. It's super popular now. It's in a lot of fucking new things, vegan things. I can't think of the name of it. But anyways, you can get more out of this one little seed, that the name will come to me soon, than you can get out of any pre-workout or protein mixes that are filled with calories and fats and different things like that. And those things have their place, especially if you're a bodybuilder trying to put on mass. But you don't want to put on so much mass that you clog your arteries, and you're one of those people that end up having a heart attack, and they look at you like, this person was so healthy, he worked out every day, blah, 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 and then all of a sudden he had a heart attack. Well, yeah, that's why you clogged your arteries with the wrong fucking content, with the wrong substances, and you didn't do it right because you thought you were doing everything right, and it turns out you were doing it half wrong and half right, and under the half wrong circumstances, you did something, and then your heart rate started going so fast and pumping your blood so quick that it couldn't get through that artery because it was so fucking clogged. And in that retrospect, if you had thin blood from eating too much salt, you might have did yourself some good. But you don't want to have such thin blood that anyways, that's besides the topic at hand. But chia seeds. There it is. I knew it would come to me. Chia seeds are filled with antioxidants. They are filled with your omegas, which are in part like fish oils, right? Fish oils are great for your joints, but they're also good for your brain. And whenever you have post-workout stuff, it's something you take before working out, but it actually shoots proteins into your muscles while you're working out, because you can't eat while you're working out. It screws up your pump, it screws up the blood flow, it screws up a lot of things. So having this post-workout would be after pre-workout. Intra-workout was the word I was looking for. There's this pre-workout, there's post-workout, and there's intra-workouts you could take that are loaded with creatine, which may or may not be good. It all depends on you. I take creatine fairly periodically, a lot, whenever I am in a current workout cycle, because I don't believe in taking steroids, but something that shoots water into my muscles, as long as I'm taking in enough water, especially water with minerals so my body can handle it. I don't believe creatine is something that could harm you. Once again, has there been a lifetime of study around it? Probably, but I don't know for sure. And maybe it's not responsible of me to say that I think it's good out there. If there are people listening to me that believe that I am, somebody who has wisdom on these things, but I do believe that there are no side effects if you do it properly, or there's less side effects if you do it properly. There's side effects to everything we do. So as long as you take in the variables that of which, if there is a substance you're taking that's shooting extra water into your muscles, then it would only make sense that you need to take in extra water so that the rest of your body has the right water to maintain. And this is why whenever I was taking a lot of creatine, that I would have muscle spasms. And when I looked up some of the reasons for muscle spasms, well, it was dehydration. I was like, well, I'm taking in 10 glasses of water per the thing a pre-workout tells me to take in, and I'm still getting these muscle spasms. Well, then come to find out that creatine shoots some water into your muscles, but only in the muscles that you're working out, or it's derived to do that, to know specifically what you're working out, and where the pump is going to, the water follows that flow. So then I needed to drink way more water whenever I wasn't working out, so that the rest of my body got the water that it was taken from the other place of my body. So using your logical mind while doing these things, it has its benefits, right? Your logical mind, conscious mind, does have its place. It's not all evil like people tend to make it out and think it to be. You do need a healthy balance between both of them. You need to find out how to use your logical mind, and whenever you are sleeping, how to use your unconscious mind to your benefit. Use both. That's why I put on books when I go to sleep. Lately anyways, I used to always have a book on or a YouTube channel on in the background. Now lately I'm having less time because I recently went back to work during this dark night of the soul period that I'm going through, once again developing my shadow side even more than the first time I developed it. And I realized that I needed to do what Jordan Peterson has been saying, because I felt myself falling into some nihilism and some apathy, and being a little like, fucking woe is me, and why was my life going so great and unable to do all these magical using all these different magical systems, and I've been able to get more money and have so much success with my magical endeavors than ever, and feeling still like, what's the point? Well, why am I doing this? Why do I keep needing to do this? Why can't I get my family or my wife to believe that it's working? And so I ended up going and taking a job, and because that was my biggest fear. Like I said, I've already had videos about this, so I'm not going to get into this now, but I went back into the workforce just recently, and an actual job that's, considered to be dangerous. And I went over the fact that, a place that knows it's dangerous is way more safe than the dangers we have around us all the time. Like the cell phone you carry in your pocket day by day is producing a hell of a lot of radiation for your body that's fucking it up so much more than the procedures in place for my work that deals with the fact that we may or may not have cancer-causing agents, and being around those things can or cannot produce it. So we're taking all of the precautions necessary, versus the human being who doesn't know that cell phone could be causing radiation. Once again, like I said earlier, before you're doing something wrong, I don't think you're held accountable. But once you know that cell phone is bad for you, and you're going to let your baby lay beside it, well then, yeah, you're held accountable. That's why my phone's never around my baby. And if I notice it's there, I fucking pitch it across the room. And it's not about the screen breaking. The screen breaks, but it's way more important that cell phone's away from my daughter. Now, I will pick it up and move it unless, she's about to grab it with her hand, I'm going to knock it out of her hand, you know? And that's one of those things like, oh, fuck, if I think about it too much, and, you know, did I leave my cell phone around her too long? Could that cause an issue with her? Probably, maybe, you know, and that's where you gotta control those thoughts. You don't want your mind to start dwelling on this thought of, oh, my cell phone around my kids and the radiation coming through my house around my kids. Is that going to cause something bad? I believe some of the material out there that tells us that these things cause as much radiation as they do is meant to just help our mind kill itself, basically. If your mind is a powerful tool, but it can also be a powerful weapon against your own health and your own ability. And I guess that's the whole premise I'm trying to get just circled back to with this video, was that I wanted to go in further explanation of what I meant by, if we don't have an expiry date, would we expire at the dates that we expire? And I believe if we didn't know that we expired at certain years of our life, that if we didn't believe that our liver just stopped functioning, our kidneys just stopped functioning past a certain year, that it's good. And that's on that's based on the notion, the knowing of us thinking that, you know, our organs are only good for this length of time. And that's bullshit, because our organs are continuously rebuilding themselves, regrowing. Your kidneys you have right now are not the same you had when you were a baby. The kidneys you have right now are not the same when you had a kidney infection. So you can say, well, my kidneys are weak because I had like so many kidney infections as a kid. And I made that same argument with my daughter, saying how many ear infections did she have? So all those little pieces in her ear must be weak, and maybe she does need tubes. And that's bullshit, because I come to realize that everything in her ear, if I give her the right stuff and she ate the right food and took in the right alkaline juice, water, and took in the right alkaline baths, that those organs would get strengthened, because they'd be putting in the right stuff in her body, that her organs are going to be made, her cells will be made out of the right materials, and they will make stronger organs. And I proved that right. And that could be magic, or that could be science, or that could be both, and it doesn't matter, but it worked. And my daughter hasn't had an ear infection since. Me and my wife just got over a bout. You could probably hear it in my voice right now. I'm a little hoarse. I had some severe when I was breathing in, it hurt in my lungs, basically. And I'm like, oh, come on, is this something? Is this something? And, you know, I got out of my head. I even did some weird things with my own, well, I won't get into that. Maybe I'll get into that further down the road. But I did some different magics with some of my own fluids, and, you know, put certain things like salt and other spiritual things that kind of neutralize bad, maleficent things, whatever. So if there's a part of your body that you can isolate from your body, and you could experiment on that, which is kind of the reason why I don't like to give blood, because technically my blood is part of my body. But if you give that to somebody and they add, let's say, cancer to your blood, well, what are the odds that that won't go into your current body? You know, everything is all connected. Even when something is separated from somebody, it's still technically connected, which is why I don't like giving my blood. But anyways, or any of my fluids. But you can do this on yourself. And if you can take your own blood and then put some protective something in it, which is what I did. I took my own blood and I put something in it, and this is to protect any outside sources fucking with my actual blood to give me any diseases that will affect my body. I've done that so that can't be there. It's a ultimate protective tool on top of all the other protection things I've done to my own body. My protection bubble I'm always around, my aura being super thick, nothing being able to come through it, to my servitors and thought forms around me, protecting me from the ones that are decoys to the other ones that are, you know, watching the decoys. Once they are the decoys being attacked, the other ones come. You know what I mean? I overthink things, but that can be a good thing, and it's other times it can be a bad thing. But point is, I did the same method when I was just sick, and I got over it pretty quickly. I mean, last night I slept the night away, and that probably helped too. But then I woke up this morning and feeling, you know, I'm not 100%, but I'm like 95% better. And it's because I took some fluids in my body, and I fucked with it, and I did things with it, kind of like you would do on your altar to do magics. You would take your hair, you would take your hoodoo doll or voodoo doll or anything, your own hair. You could take your own fucking hair and do something to it to protect it, or take anything bad out of it. You know, I'm telling you right now, if your kid has head lice, take some of their hair whether there's lice on it or not, and you do something there to protect that piece of hair, that it won't ever get hair lice, head lice again. And I'm telling you right now, that's going to filter down, and your kid won't get hair lice ever again. Even when the head lice is prominent at their school, they won't get it. I can tell you right now, that works 100%. Works better than the shit you're going to buy from Walmart. But anyways, I'm going to get into a few more things, and it's going to be circling. I don't really know how to classify it. Someone's about to come into my studio right now, or my door, or my bedroom. It's all the same to me. But yeah, I'm going to talk about, not egregores per se, but I'm going to talk about servitors, and I want to talk about comedians, and the word comedian, because it's got median right in it, and how it relates to Hermes or Mercury, the trickster and all that. So when we come back, this is what I'm going to talk about. But first, I'm going to play a clip that that I think is going to be relative to this. But anyways, after I listen to this myself, if I have more insights to put out here, I will, because I still don't think I hit on exactly what I wanted to hit on. But
if you could design your life exactly the way you I regard as deeper than Jung. He's terrifying, truly terrifying. But here's one of the things that differentiates him from the typical self-help person. I really love this, is that he believes that the pathway to completion as a human being is through the embodiment of the monster.
Embodiment of the monster.
That's the discovery of the shadow. You see, so Jung didn't believe that you could be a good person until you realized your capacity for evil. I don't mean acted it out in the world.
But understand that it's possible.
Well, not only understand it, but then to bring it under your control.
Mm.
You see, because there's a big difference between someone who's naive and is a good person. They're naive, they're a good person because they can't not be. They're like a domesticated house cat. There's nothing, they don't even have the capacity to be bad. So there's no morality in that. The morality comes when you're a monster and you can control it. And that's the Jungian encounter with the shadow. So Jung said, for example, that the roots of the shadow go all the way down to hell. And what he meant by that is that, you can think about it literally, you can think about it metaphorically. We'll just think about it metaphorically. It's like, if you start to understand who you are, then you understand the Nazis. And who wants to understand the Nazis? I can understand sex criminals. I can understand them. Right. I can understand Nazis. And the reason for that is because I can see that as an aspect of myself. Truly. But one of the things that's so interesting, it's terrifying to realize that, which is why it's terrifying to realize the shadow, which is why people don't do it. It's no wonder they don't do it. It's a horrible thing to realize that you're human and what being human means. Like Christ to Satan, that's the human being. Mm. And you might say, well, those aren't real. It's like, okay, well, they're figments of the imagination that the human race constructed to describe themselves. Fine. Does that make it less frightening? I don't think so. So, and it doesn't make it any less frightening if you take those two extremes seriously. And you might say, well, who's going to take the Christ extreme seriously? It's no problem, man. Dispense with it. You try getting rid of the other side. See how you do with that.
So, Jung's idea that you find so compelling was essentially that one has to understand their potential for horrific behavior, that it almost exists in all of us, that it's a facet of just the human experience.
Well, look, I know partly why you're so popular. It's because you're a monster. I mean, look, I watched what you did to the Kardashians on your and Jenner on your comedy show, man. You did this whole gargoyle thing. Yeah, you remember, you laugh. Yeah, see, you can even laugh about that. I mean, it was horrifying to behold. You were crouched up on the back of this chair like a...
It's horrifying to do.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I couldn't believe you did it.
The problem with doing it is, this is going to sound fucked up, but while I'm doing it, I'm not thinking I'm doing a comedy sketch. This is what's fucked up about it. While I'm crouched there, I'm thinking like a demon.
Yeah.
Like, that's the reason why I do it that way. And the reason why I do it I'm very flexible, right? So it's one of the reasons why I do it in almost, because I want it to be in an almost in a way that you don't imagine human beings moving. It's like it confuses the mind because it's not standard human movement. And then on top of that, the way I'm thinking, and then this like explosive, like when he yells out nonsense. And I say he, because I don't think of it as me. I really think it sounds so pretentious. But while I'm doing that, my brain goes into another place.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's really
well, you can't do that unless you're a monster.
It's a
see,
but it's also
bit. The thing. See, because
I'm very happy when I retired it. By the way.
Oh yeah, I was really quite taken. I was very impressed by it. I mean, I thought it was hilarious to begin with, but the fact that you would go there, I thought that was really interesting. And comedians are like that because they go into dark places. They're tricksters. They're a mediator between the normal world and the world of the gods. They're tricksters. So it was very funny to watch you do that. And I wondered how far you would let yourself get into it. But I think part of the reason that you're appealing to people, if you don't mind me saying this, I'm not trying to be forward particularly, but I thought about it a lot, is that you're a tough guy and you tell the truth. But it's both of those together that's what's doing it, because, people don't look at you and think like holier than thou preacher. That isn't what they think. They think tough guy who's trying to figure things out. Like, right on. That's good. You're a good figure for the times. Because this whole war against the phallogocentrism, calls forward people who are like you, if we're lucky. And those are guys who have this warrior end, because, you're a fighter. So, if you're going to be a fighter, you have to want to win. And you have to want to hurt people. I mean, not for the sake of hurting them. That's what makes you different than an evil person. But you have to have that capacity. You have to develop that. And that's the step on the way to enlightenment.
Oh my God!
We're talking about a complete revolution in the way society is structured, right? Because if automation does come along and artificial intelligence does come along, and it really is a situation where a lot of the things that people do to occupy their time in order to feed themselves and shelter themselves, they don't exist anymore. It's not.
All right, sorry, I won't make you have to listen to all the different Joe Rogan and Peterson things I've had recorded on here by accident. Although I do think some of them are pretty good. But before I get into the whole comedian thing, I wanted to play for you guys, or what I want to talk about, the whole comedian thing. And I wrote cosmic median, but I don't know what the co means. The co could be just collaboration. It could be cooperative. It could be anything. I just wrote cosmic because, I look better in the title, to be honest, because I do believe in planetary magic, and what planetary magic assumes and, makes people think of the cosmos, cosmic reality, and stuff like that. So, but before I get into that, the newest Uncle Birch, Ask Uncle Birch was pretty good. He hit on a few things. So I'm going to play the first half of that. He's going to do a lot of self-promoting in there, but if I'm going to play the guy's stuff, I might as well let him self-promote. So I'm going to play that, and then I'll come back on, and I will tell you what I think about the comedian and cosmic mediumship, I guess. All right.
That was the longest time to get one viewer. That was like 5 seconds. No, wait. 30 oh, that's not 5 seconds. 38 seconds. 41 seconds to get 5 viewers. Oh, my God. I feel like I've been neglecting my own channel here. I've been so busy going around to noob sites and other places, even on my own Facebook page, doing Ask Uncle Birch. I haven't been here in a while. Hello, L. Hello, Emerald City Mystic. Hello. Chaos Fiji was good, 100%. All right. I don't know what bought me this. My almost 23-year-old daughter, when she was a teenager, bought me an Iron Maiden shirt. Smart kid. What do you think of the Gallery of Magical Books? Is that a specific set? L? The Gallery of Magical Books? Not sure if I'm familiar with that. Was a time I kept up with all of the new publications coming out, but I just can't. I'm doing good, Emerald City Mystic. How are you, man? Damon Brands. Okay, I'm not familiar with line of books. There's just too many books. I can tell you about old books, like the Goetia. My opinion on the Goetia. Well, you got to have the Goetia. You got to have both keys of Solomon, the lesser and the greater key. That's where a lot of our magic starts. Actually, it starts with Hermes, but where a lot of our magic starts, even Wicca was borrowing heavily from all of Solomon's work. So really, you can't have the greater key without the lesser key. You got to have the Goetia. You gotta. Thank you for asking me about an old book. I'm old. There are just too many books out there regurgitating the same shit. Which is why I'm working hard before I put out a book, not to regurgitate the same shit. Probably the first book I'll put out would be an actual transcript of my year and a day class, which will not be regurgitating any of the same shit. It's funny, I saw somebody say that on the internet. It's just regurgitating the same. Really? Really? Uncle Birch? No. Nobody's regurgitating the shit that I'm regurgitating, man. Nobody's talking about the shit that I'm talking about anymore because I got a long memory. I know a lot of magic, I know a lot of witchcraft, and we play this little game here and there because I'm on this teaching frenzy. I started a class in March, it filled up. I had to start a class in May, it filled up. So I had to start a class in August, it filled up. So now, November 1st, right around the corner, Witch School, year and a day. November 1st is coming, and I got to talk about that before we get into Ask Uncle Birch. Let's see, I can't see this shit with these glasses on. So much ultraviolet protection, I can't even read a screen with the damn things. But beginning November 1st, Uncle Birch is offering a correspondence course in all things witchcraft. In 1 year, Uncle Birch will teach you everything you need to know to start your path. A bold statement. I'm fucking bold. It's true. You will know more than most witches have learned in a year and a day class. My students are the best students. And if you're a teacher out there, my students can kick your students' asses. Hopefully they won't have to, but they can. My students are the best students. Okay, at any rate, everything you need to start your path in the craft, either personally or professionally. Who's teaching that? You'll receive at least 3 video classes per month, accompanied by text and PDF material. You will also interact with Uncle Birch and receive his personal insights and instructions. Beginning November 1st, 2019, we will learn craft history like you've never heard, occult philosophy and old lore, things that have been forgotten, the powers of the moon, where science and magic meet, tools of magic, keys of magic, the sun, the moon, and stars, spell work, folk magic, various folk magics, combining magics, client work, setting up shop, brewing techniques, professional witchery, protection magic, cursing, hexing, and crossing, removing curses, hexes, and cross conditions, covens, groups, how to join, how to lead. Anybody else teaching that out there? I mean, half of that. Anybody else teaching any of that out there? No? Huh? Any regurgitated shit? Let's see. How to interact? I haven't got a reply to a question. Hold on. You're talking about a reply to a question in the class. Some of my students seem to have not gotten the memo that all Witch School correspondences should happen through witchschool@gmail.com. WITCHSKEWL@gmail.com. Do not use my shop's email. It's all messed up. I've had several wannabe hacker haters, spam bomb the email. It's gotten almost unusable, and I'm in the process of shifting that email away from the shop. It's just connected to so many other places. I've also recently revamped my entire shop and the way we operate because we got way behind, and had some other hacks back in the day that we got past. But recently revamped my entire process, and orders are now flowing out. So if you've been waiting for a while, do contact me at witchschool@gmail.com and let me know. I can put a bug up my people's ass and get it there. But if you're asking me questions on my shop Sacred Grove page, I likely will not see them. I have to sift through the spam every time. And then, it's a Hotmail account, so it has a lot of legitimate spam over the 20 years I've had the damn thing anyway, so it's just unusable. Don't try and contact me there. I'm sorry it's still linked to my store, but I have to eradicate all of the places that it's linked to the store before I manually switch that from the store, and there's still a couple more that I've got to find and tweak. But all things, if you're interested in the class, here's how it works. November 1st, probably midnight on Samhain, the class will appear at gumroad.com/witchschool, which again is WITCHSKEWL. The class will appear. Those who have contacted me, I will notify them. Once the class opens, there's a certain amount of spots available for the class, and then it's full. But if you contact me ahead of time with interest in the class, I can reserve your spot for you, and I have unlimited spots that I can reserve. So if you're interested in it, contact me at witchschool@gmail.com. I can give you more details, or I can just sign you up for it. The class is $35 a month, automatically deducted. You set up an account at Gumroad, and they automatically bill you every month so that I don't have to deal with that. But $35 a month for a year. So we do this little thing to help me be ready for it, to help me keep my teaching muscle strong. If you're on this channel, you've probably seen the game before, but I'm getting new subscribers all the time. So, Ask Uncle Birch means you can ask me almost anything about any type of magic, even if it's not one that I specifically practice, and I will probably have something to say. Try not to be too long-winded, or I will miss part of your question, and try not to ask me a question while I'm answering a question. It's an excellent idea to copy your question, so you can paste it several times after I miss your question. I will go back in this video after it's posted and put the links to which school and the links to the email and all that kind of crap. But right now, you're just going to have to write down what it said. Which school is WITCHSKEWL. The class will be hosted at gumroad.com/witchschool. The way to do chaos magic, well, first you need to, any magic that you're not doing, you need to study. So, who was that? I want to answer you. Teresa. Let's see. All right, I'm reading to me. Chaos magic, you need to read, you need to study. What you need to study is Phil Hine. It's Phil, the common spelling of Phil, and Hine, H-I-N-E. He has two main books published, Prime Chaos and Condensed Chaos, and I'm here to tell you that all of the material in those books was previously published to the internet by Phil Hine in PDF. You can find all of Phil Hine's works for free on the internet. If you can support his works and buy the books, great. But you don't have to go spend a pretty penny. A lot of chaos magicians like to use a lot of heady old mage speak that nobody can wrap their head around. So they sound bigger than they are. Even Osmond's Spare is gibberish to read. It's really, most of the classics that are associated with chaos magic are really hard reads. But Phil Hine, I used to read him live on the radio, on a pirate radio station with some background music down below. And a great read. He's a great read. You'll understand more about chaos magic than any other source if you just read you some Phil Hine. Elle says that's cheaper and probably more practicable than my college tuition. Yeah, some colleges have witchcraft courses nowadays. We teach how to summon and work with spirits on your course. Oh, yes. You know anything about Freemasonry and magic? Are they connected? Absolutely. Freemasonry operates on the same occult symbolic language that we all operate on, that all the occult uses the same symbolic language. The Masons were actually once Masons. They were some stoneworkers, peasants, whatnot. And they were working on Solomon's temple. And in their excursion of the basement of Solomon's temple, they came across some mystical things. Solomon had plenty of mystical things. At that point, the Masons become a mystical order. It all changes at that point. Before that, they were just literally stone workers. Nothing really mystical about it until something happened while they were doing their job in Solomon's temple. Then they became a mystical order. So the things within the Masonic temples will be things associated with the magics we know of Solomon, taken to another degree. I'm not a Mason, so I can't tell you any of their secrets, although the majority of their secrets are on the internet, and I do know those, and I know the purpose behind the ritual of the guy hit on the head with a hammer, who will come save this mother's son. I know the rituals, oddly enough, for their initiations, because they've been published over the years. But absolutely there's a connection. And I try to always remind people, here in America, we're going through a process where the insane Christian right is in control of the helm of the country and have been pushing the agenda that this is in fact a Christian country and passing laws to support the religious rights only of Christians. And most times those religious rights are their right to be bigots to somebody else. But they're not supporting the religious rights of other religions. Now, the founding fathers of the United States of America were rarely Christian. And the majority of them had no connection to Christianity at all, because Christianity, where they came from, was controlled by the Church of England. And the Church of England had been controlled by kings all the way back to, before King James rewrote the Bible. The Church of England was in control. So the state was running the religion. This is the entire reason for our separation of church and state in the United States. And the founding fathers, for all their mistakes, some of them were terrible people and they had slaves and all that, but they did have a vision. And it's a brilliant vision, and it's kept the country running for quite some time until, this regime is trying to dismantle the entire Constitution. The reason that since wanted separation of church and state was not to have freedom of religion as much as it was to have freedom from religion. Where they came from, the state controlled religion, and they didn't want to be controlled by the king anymore. America, revolution, all that shit. It had nothing to do with Christianity, and they didn't want the freedom to be Christians. They wanted freedom from religion. That's why we had the separation of church. We had the separation of church and state for most of this country's history until the last 2 years or so. I mean, it could be argued that George W. Bush was courting the evangelical Christian right too, but somehow he wasn't quite as insane as the current regime is with it now. Although back then, we thought it was the most insane thing ever. And George Bush's original platform was to do away with the Wiccan religious rights and to kick the Wiccans off of military bases, which was a big thing in the press at the time. So founding fathers probably benefited us greatly in this country with that stance. Hi, Uncle Birch. Any info on gypsy magic? That's having info on gypsy magic and relaying that as a non-practitioner, and that's not even a good word. We're not supposed to use that word. God, what is the word for gypsy? The good word for gypsy? Roma and Romani. So I would not, I do know some stuff, but I would not talk about their stuff because that would be like some serious cultural appropriation right there. I never practiced it, but I have a story. One year, I ended up with these gypsies. Came into my shop, and they all got readings. No one hired me to do a thing. There was, in a certain part of town nearby, the psychic readers were all gypsies in one small geographical location Romani, from different families, and as such they were warring with each other over territory, over psychic reading territory. This really fucking happens, okay? So I had no idea. I had no idea they were even there. I had no idea they even had a community, but once I came into contact with them, I'm still in contact with them. Still clients to this day. And I got hired to work against another one, and I did my job. They showed me some really bad stuff this person was involved in, so it was easy to get me on board. They're ripping people off and charging them like $25,000 a pop to remove curses that didn't exist. It happens. I don't know who's got. I've never seen somebody that I thought had $25,000. I guess I'm not a good con man. So it turned out one of these people was one of my customers, and they started coming into my shop buying protection stuff. So I was like, I was making it in both hands, but I had a rule. I was in a small community with witches and stuff. My rule was, first one that comes to me to get help gets the help. Even if it turns out I know the person that they're working about later, professional, as a professional, I'm not going to tell the other person, but I'm going to take the job from the first person that I accept the job from, regardless of what I find later down the road. Now later, these gypsies, these Romani, asked me to come to their house on Samhain. They were having a family gathering, so apparently Samhain was significant to them too. And I was going there to do readings for the family. And it was Samhain. I had religious duties. I had family duties. Marta over here was not having it. There's no way can you go do that on Samhain. We got stuff to do. And they just, every time I said no, they threw down another 300. And every time I just kept saying no, and they just kept throwing it.
Finally, I was like,
throwing it down. I'm looking at 2 months' rent sitting on a table in front of me. So, then I talked to Marta. She said, all right, we'll take one for the team, try and get out of there early. I got back before midnight, and we did our stuff. But then I went to this house. And first I started in this room with older people, and I read for them. Then the middle-aged people, and I read for them. And it wasn't until I got to the kitchen table of the young girls, about 13, 12, this age, when I realized that every person in that family was a reader. They all read tarot. They all had their own interpretations for the tarot, and some of them would mention it, but they wouldn't argue against my reading. But so an entire family of readers that has been brought up reading since they were old enough to read hired me to read for their entire family. And one thing that I did learn that was interesting there, because one of the girls was 12, and she wanted me to, cast some cards telling her about her future husband. I was like, well, I don't think you need to worry about that right now. You're young. You got a whole life ahead of you. And she says, no, in our family, we're arranged by 13 years old. We're in an arranged marriage by 13 years old. My husband's already picked out, but I don't know much about him. Can you pull some cards and tell me about him? And I said, whoa. I guess if I'd have pulled some cards, I might have seen that, but I had no idea that that was a thing, or that there was cultures here in America still practicing extremely old, outdated practices like arranged marriages. But in the Romani culture, apparently that's a thing. So while I won't talk about their magics and stuff like that, I did gain a unique insight into pieces of their culture. I learned a lot, and they've been, friends and clients since then. They've somehow always tracked me down and found my phone number, called me up. So we're doing this thing called Ask Uncle Birch. I'm getting ready for my November 1st year-to-day class to start, which will be hosted at gumroad.com/witchschool. Now, do not go there and sign up to any class that says year and a day on it. You'll be in the wrong class that started months ago, and it'll screw everything up. Then we'll have to figure everything out. The class will appear November 1st. I'm hoping around Samhain at midnight, although I could be in Circle or something doing some shit at midnight. I'll step out and post the class. But the class will appear then. If you want to sign up for the class ahead of time, you're still going to have to sign up at November 1st, but your slot will be secured if you contact me ahead of time at witchschool@gmail.com, which again is WITCHSKEWL. Whenever Uncle Birch says Witch School, it is WITCHSKEWL. Because people with my same last name, who I'm not related to, whose entire tradition kind of named after me, the Corellians, well, they took the common spelling of Witch School a decade ago, so it was already taken. And I kind of like my spelling anyways. But to get me ready, to keep my teaching muscles strong, and as a community service, I do this thing called Ask Uncle Birch, where you can ask almost anything. I love it on my channel. We get a kind of diverse crowd. Sometimes I go to absolute new witch channels, and I really sound like an old wise man there because every question that I'm asked there, I've been asked 10 times on that channel. And people ask the same question every time. So I have canned responses ready for most questions when I'm on the absolute new witch channel. But here we're a little more diverse. We got people been on my channel for a long time, people from all over the map, and you're not necessarily noobs. Although I picked up a lot of viewers from that channel too. But so I do this here, there, everywhere as a community service because there's so much bullshit out there. And I'm a teacher, that's my job. But it's not just about getting paid. It's about doing good work, doing the great work, keeping the craft alive. Well, let me have this hit I've been waiting on here. Keeping good teachings and good material out there. And opposing bullshit. There's so much bullshit people spread around on the internet about witchcraft. It behooves an old man like me to say, you kids get off my lawn, and straighten shit out. So I do that. But you can ask almost anything about it. Just have a magic. I may miss your question, because if you ask me a question when I'm already answering a question, I will not look at your question, because it confuses me, and I get two tracks of my mind going in two different directions. It's an excellent idea to copy and paste your question after I miss it several times. Try not to be too long-winded, because I just get this little balloon. And if it's too long-winded, it'll say see more, and when I hit see more, I won't see more butts. Doesn't happen. You love it when I say that.
I was thinking see more butts.
I could feel you think of that. What? Yeah. Are some gods territorial? Is that if you go to them, they get angry if you can include other gods in your work? What if you find you're not a good fit? Will some get upset and leave? Stone Witch, happy 420. Yeah, it's always 420 here. Yeah. The only one that really comes to mind, I mean, there probably are some. There are, humans kind of program our own baggage into our gods. I don't really know, if it started with the gods or we imposed that in them, but they end up operating with those things that we program into them. But Santissima, Santa Muerte, is one that I know. She has to have her own altar. You could have an altar with several Santa Muertes on them because they're kind of color-coded and each color does a different thing. But she will not share her space with any other bitch. And she gets really pissy about that. So I imagine there are gods like that. But, when you say territorial, I kind of think of, part of the problem I see with the cultural appropriation arguments out there is that, as Uncle Birch always says, gods don't recognize borders. And you don't get to put a box around God or a God and have them stay there. You are the creation, not the creator, and you have no power to put them in a box and limit who they are. We can make definitions and personifications upon gods, but we cannot say that they are only those personifications and definitions that we give them. We can add to them, we can add to their essence, but we can never take away from who they are or limit who they will evolve to become. So when people say these kind of things, I was like, my ancestors won't work with you because you're white and they were enslaved. That kind of argument. No, you know what? I'm in an ATR. I'm in Palo Mayombe. And what I learned about my ancestors in a tradition that's all about the dead is that the tradition is to elevate your ancestors, to elevate them. And people think about this in a purely spiritual sense and don't take it to its logical next step. You know, ancestors that are still butthurt about what some people with a certain color skin did once upon a time are not elevated. Because I would hope that upon my death, I will become elevated and not ruled by the bigotries of mankind. Likewise, in some of these traditions, let's say Palo, since I went there. In Palo, we are taught by traditions that the ancestors frown upon gay people in the traditions. Now, I understand that these traditions originally came from places that were enshrined in bigotry, but why should I not lift my ancestors up beyond that? Why should they be limited by human conditions after death? Why should they have petty hatreds and bigotries and homophobia? Why should they be misogynist? Why should they be tripping on women having menstrual cycles within the traditions? Okay, I understand a lot of old people did that. It was, very sinful when women bled. That's a very Catholic thing. But we're beyond that now. We're beyond that with homophobia in the world. Why should not my ancestors be above that? And never one of my ancestors ever came to me as a bigot or a misogynist. And my Nkisi never said to be so, and my Lucero never said it either. I think this absolute bullshit that is in every tradition and every religion out there, even Jehovah, for all his tweakiness, should not have been a bigot if he was a god. He should not have been so consumed. I mean, that one, people say that all the time. It's like, the ancestors don't want to deal because you were white and white people once enslaved them. Oh, yeah? Well, go back farther, and their ancestors were enslaved by brown-skinned people. Okay? And you go far enough back, well, eventually then it's the Greeks and the Romans, which had a lighter skin too. But the white people did not invent slavery. Okay? A certain point of history, certain white people perfected it, but slavery was practiced before that. Before the Dutch slave trade, slavery still happened. And back biblically, the people enslaving the Jews were the Egyptians, African people, brown skin. Okay? We have these very limited philosophies that we try and put on our ancestors and our gods. Do you think my gods can't see beyond Egypt? Really? Do you think they can't see beyond the Dutch slave trade? Do you think that they can't see that kings in Africa sold their enemies into slavery and happened to be black? I think my ancestors see a bigger picture. A class war. Class war has always been there. Race wars never really happened, but it's always been about class. It just so happened that at a certain point, white people amassed more of the wealth than other people. And that fuels slavery just as much as skin color. But anyway, I don't even know what that rant was about, but that's a good rant and it needed to be said. People need to be repeating that. I don't want my gods full of crap and bigotry. I don't want my ancestors and my spirits full of fucking crap. Get over it. Get bigger. Elevate. It's my job to elevate them past that. I'll play that shit. Thank you. Ask me a question. Okay, I had a question. I'm a city mystic of Agrippa. I was confused about what elements each of the watchtowers represent because the watchers, well, first of all, Agrippa, you got to study Agrippa, you got to study Abramelin, Solomon, all of the old works are going to lead into a lot of the natures. The Gregorii stand at the cardinal points of north, south, east, and west, which in a lot of the traditions have elemental associations with them. However, the watchers are not exactly elementally associated. They're beyond that. The watchers are kind of hard to describe. But in some very old traditions, the god in control of this particular sphere experimented for a while with a varying number of species. They say imbuing different species with intelligence and then seeing what happened. And the point was for these life forms to evolve to a higher spiritual level. And the Gregorii did that. But when they got to this high spiritual plateau, the god in charge didn't yet have a plan for what to do with the species that actually reached that goal. Kind of fumbling around, this god. It's kind of, those are some interesting legends, and they exist in a great many of the old religions. Didn't really have a plan yet. It's kind of just experimenting, like we do, see what would happen. So the watchers were imbued into these stars at the four cardinal points of the planet, there to sit forever, guarding the portal between this world and the next, or the portals between this world and the next. And that's probably the most narrow that we can define the watchers. But their cardinal points aren't necessarily reflecting an elemental construct or concept. Does that make it more sense? Pretty sure you're in my class, so maybe you already asked me that question. I mean, some homework I don't answer, some I do. If there's something I feel I need to input, I input. But homework is really for the student, for you to be trying to work stuff out on paper. Let's see. Hey, Birch, what is your opinion on the best source for magic and witchcraft in Roman times? I don't really know of any good magical books that survive. I mean, the problem with your question is the fire at Alexandria. The reason the Earth went through the Dark Ages is because the fire at Alexandria. The largest of the Roman libraries was entirely wiped out, and what is said is that all of human knowledge gained since then, gone. We didn't even know how to keep the aqueducts running anymore. We used to have indoor plumbing, and then all of a sudden we didn't. Then we had, the plague and all this other stuff that the Romans probably had cures for back in their day, but that one fire wiped out what is said to be the entirety of human knowledge. Now, somehow, probably because these books stayed with the generals and didn't go to the libraries, the Roman battle records exist. And the Roman battle records are intact. And we will ever learn about certain pagan cultures. The heathens, probably the most we're going to learn about the heathens back then is from the Romans while they were fighting them. The Druids. The Druids didn't leave a whole lot of records. The most that we learn about the Druids is from the Roman battle records, but they kept really precise records. And even when they're getting their asses kicked, they kept really good notes. But I don't know of good magical books to survive. I know of one really good spell where you get a sheet of lead, and you carve the name of your enemy on it, and then each day you cross out one letter in their name starting from the end of the name towards the beginning. Brutal. I've seen variations of that, but the one right on the lead, darn it, make sure you wash your hands. I don't want the lead all over you.
Make sure you wash your leg first.
Yeah. Wash your leg?
You're burning stuff.
Yeah.
the leg.
Oh, yeah.
Wash it. You want to be it's dirty, it's going to get infected.
Yeah. Wash it.
That's some interesting news for you.
Oh, really? Hold on, please.
Would everyone left New Orleans on August 12th?
Yeah.
So August 13th in New Orleans, their very first medical marijuana dispensary opened in New Orleans. They just approved it for medical in August this year. Like,
Wow.
right when we went.
I thought everybody had medical marijuana by now.
They didn't. They just approved it in August, and the first one in New Orleans, it has to be distributed by a pharmacy, so it's at a pharmacy.
Wow, that's weird.
Just happened. So
We're getting ready for the November. I'm exposing my daily rituals. See the sun come up. See the sun go down. We just got to the point where we can see the sunset from our veranda here. During the summer, it's over that way. So we took it to the point where we can see sunset. Same thing, moonrise, moon peak, moonset, shields up. Shields up. Have some sort of protection thing that you can. What?
shields up, hose down.
Shields up, hose down. Alright, let me see if I missed anything.
What?
Daily rituals are used for protection. Go watch my video on this channel called Psychic Self-Defense Shields Up. You'll see. Hi, Uncle Birch. Do you reveal an attacker's identity if you suspect someone is casting against you? The Rich School, by the way, is genuinely amazing. Oh, thank you, Leonardo. I do, but the nature of an actual magical attacker that knows what they're doing is steeped in the art of war. And page 1, verse 1 of the Art of War, all warfare is based on deception. And if anybody knows that, they're deceptive. They're trying to hide who they are. They're going to make it hard. I don't want to waste a whole lot of time on that. I can, make a thing for, attacker, unidentified attacker. I may find out who they are. If I don't find out who they are right away, do the thing anyways. At an unnamed attacker, I'll make a sigil for that thing and do the thing on that thing. I don't necessarily need to know who did it. Who done it? Preach, Uncle Birch. Amen. Okay. Would a servitor create more negativity if that was the servitor's main food source? Oh, you've been following me. Oh, James. Oh, of course you have. It could. That's the thing. When you're making a servitor or an egregore or anything, you gotta think like a computer programmer. You've got to think of everything that could go wrong and however your coding to make up for that. So you make you make it so the servitor is not creating negativity just to get more food. What James is talking about is my idea of a self-propelled protection servitor that consumes negativity directed at you as its food source, as often as a regular servitor. They're kind of self-propelled. They've been given the power to derive their own fuel. But Jamie's asking, could such a servitor create negativity to get fuel? It's like, unless, it's like Frankenstein, man. Unless you got something blocking it from doing that, it could evolve to do that. Or, only consume the negativity sent at me. Something like that. You have very specific command lines in your programming of the servitor, and you can program a servitor to do anything you can put into a sentence. Let's see. Greetings from Ireland. Top of the morning to you. I don't know if it's morning, but have you any experience? Any experience of anybody being killed by the Fae? No, but your country sure has a lot of legends and fairy tales about it, so I haven't really known anybody. I got one close. It comes from your country. It's a legend from your country. Yes. John DeLorean. Most of you, at least Americans, you know DeLorean as the car in Back to the Future. Well, it was a really popular car like in the 80s. It was the only car with a door that, opened up like that. It looked like a spaceship. People loved that kind of shit. Well, John DeLorean made an auto plant in Ireland. Don't know where in Ireland. Now, I'm told, I got a lot of Irish blood, but I've never been to Ireland. But you tell me if I'm wrong. Probably the most sacred tree to the fairies in Ireland, and of all the sacred trees in Ireland, would be the hawthorn tree, the guardian between the fairy world and our world. And you never cut it. You never prune it. You never fuck with it. Ever. Don't fuck with a hawthorn. Pisses off the fairies to no end. Now, John DeLorean was building a plant in Ireland, and it came time, had to make a parking lot. So they're making a parking lot. And in the parking lot, there's this large, old-growth hawthorn where the parking lot's supposed to go. Workers refused to damage the hawthorn. They walked off the job. Legend has it. John DeLorean himself climbed upon that tractor and fired it up and mowed down this ancient hawthorn tree. Probably ancient enough that the Druids probably once brought offerings to it. Now, within a year and a day, they say, John DeLorean got caught filling the tires with cocaine and shipping them into the United States. The entire car operation was funded by cocaine and smuggling it. And the car's main purpose was to smuggle cocaine into the United States from Ireland. I don't know, somehow it was easier to get it into Ireland, and then I don't know why that was the logical step. But if you think of cocaine in terms of fairy dust, which it is sometimes called, and you think of the irony of what happened after John DeLorean took out the fairy's tree, the prison sentence that he served, John DeLorean finally got out of prison and was going to start making his cars. I haven't seen a DeLorean, or I haven't seen a new DeLorean, so maybe it's ran out of money. I don't know. But that you do find construction of the plant, at least, not even the completion of the plant. He's arrested for smuggling cocaine in the United States and served a very long prison sentence. They're not exactly death. But if I was always said, or I was always taught, when it's like elemental forces, like the little people, the fae, gnomes, what you got, they have an ironic way of doing you in. There's always an irony involved. There's always a twist. And that particular legend, I think, could fit quite nicely into old Irish fairy tales. Just put a little flair in it, put a lilt to it, and you got a new Irish fairy tale. May be true, may not be, but hell of a fucking legend, and elements of the legend definitely look to be true. 'Twas the fae that did DeLorean in. Seemed to be smuggling the cocaine for quite some time before he did that to the hawthorn tree and suffered his demise. Just when I thought I didn't have anything to say. Ah! Shit. God damn it. Ah, got it. Put a screen up there and I couldn't get rid of it. Any tips for keeping your thoughts inside your head so spirits and entities can't pick up on them? Yeah, don't speak them, for one. And cancel. I always teach mental programming. There's certain dialogues we don't want to allow to continue within our head because they're detrimental to us and they're just our inner critic. We need to learn to say cancel, just cut them off and delete them before they become part of our long-term Well, you're on my channel to break a curse. There's, I think, 3 different versions. A long time ago, I used some sort of laptop where the video source, the audio wouldn't work well on smartphones. And eventually we found out that if you plugged in headphones on those smartphones, those videos would work. I never able to figure out how to edit them or make them any better so they would work without the headphones, because not everybody got that message to plug in their damn headphones. So I think I shot 3 different versions of that. So there's one that's smartphone friendly, if you don't want to use your headphones. If you can watch them both. I'm sure I didn't say the exact same thing. There are 2 different time indexes on them, so maybe there's something to get from both of the videos. But right here, I'll tell you, the common symptoms of a curse and the common and less common cures. I had a hard time connecting with my ancestors. I was told I need to find out why most of my family got recently sick. Tried a white candle in water. That's pretty common. Like a bovida, white table with a white cloth, a white candle, and a glass. It's really all you need. Ask them to come in your dreams. Make a sigil asking for your ancestors to come talk to you in your dreams. And then make that sigil the last thing you look at before you go to sleep every night. For, a couple weeks at least, and then burn the sigil. Maybe on Samhain. Yeah, I'd do that now. Just do it every night till Samhain, and then burn the sigil. I got it. That'll work. Ask Uncle Birch. Oh, are you picking me flowers? So we are getting ready for the November 1st Which School Year and a Day course, which will appear November 1st, SKEWL. You can take your chances and wait for that to pop up and try and sign up, and hopefully it doesn't get filled, midnight, October 31st, roughly. Or you can secure your spot now simply by sending me an email saying you want to take the course. It's $35 a month for a year. And you can contact me at witchschool, WITCHSKEWL, at gmail.com. Now, I'm gonna be right back. My wife has failed to bring the pot up, so I gotta go get the pot. I'll be right. And I gotta make my wife a drink, get the pot, then we'll have all of our vices ready. So you just, we'll go ahead and do that thing. Okay, just get your question ready after that.